Just as the Black Robes wizards are known for caring for themselves and their own power, wizards of the White Robes care about others and use their powers to help those they can. Not all of those who take the White Robes are militant crusaders against evil. Some are scribes and scholars who devote themselves to the study of magic for its own sake. Others are diviners who look into the future to warn others of danger. Others craft magical wards to keep enemies at bay. There are those that think it isn't enough to simply do good. They must seek out and destroy evil. Hi everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of
The Dungeon Crashers.
I'm Guy.
And I'm Zapil. Before we get started, remember to like our video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on notifications so as not to miss any of our informative D&D content. The Knight of the Rose build is taking a little longer than we thought, so today we are creating the final member of the Tower of High Sorcery, the Mage of the White Robes. Wizards and sometimes other spellcasters are trained and governed by the Tower of High Sorcery. The mages of the tower are divided into three orders. The Red Robes wizards that draw their power from the moon of Lunanari, which is the red moon and the god of magic that is used for balance and neither good or evil. There are the Black Robes wizards that draw their power from Nuatari, the black moon and the god of evil magic, and the White Robes wizards that draw their power from the moon of Solinari, which is the god of good magic. The three orders are sometimes at odds with each other, particularly the White Robes and Black Robes, but not enemies. They work together for the good of magic and share the same leadership. If a Black Robes wizard is abusing his power, a White Robe or even a Red Robes wizard may seek to stop him, but they don't hunt them down simply for being of the Black Robes. Most candidates of the Tower of High Sorcery have the Mage of High Sorcery background found in Shadows of the Dragon Queen, although spellcasters of any background can seek membership. The Mage of High Sorcery background gives the skills History and Arcana, as well as 2 languages of your choice. Our hero doesn't need a particular language for story reasons, so take 2 that work for your campaign. The background also gives the character unlimited lodging at the Tower of High Sorcery, and they can receive hospitality from other members of the Order. It also gives Initiative High Sorcery feat. This feat gives 1 cantrip from the wizard list, and our hero chooses Firebolt. It also grants 2 first-level spells from the list depending on which moon they choose to focus their power. Our hero chooses Solinari and can select from Shield, Comprehend Languages, Detect Good and Evil, and Protection from Good and Evil. These spells are already on the wizard list and are also spells he would take. He can cast each of them once a day without using a spell slot and can always have them prepared and don't count against the number of spells he can prepare. He can cast these with any spell slots he has. He chooses Shield and Protection from Good and Evil. Shield is an obvious choice because he would take it anyway, and having it a free use is nice. Protection from Good and Evil won't come up most in early levels in most campaigns, but it will be an important spell when he starts encountering enemies that are affected by it. Our hero is going to be human, and we are using the variant human. Instead of a specific racial abilities, they get 1 skill proficiency, and our hero chooses Investigation, and 1 feat, and he takes the Heavy Armor Master feat, which increases his strength by 1, and he reduces damage for bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage by 3 points when wearing heavy armor. Humans get 2 +1 ability score bonuses they can place on 2 abilities of their choice. Using the point buy, we put a 13 on Strength, making it 14 from the bonus point from Heavy Armor Master. We put a 10 on Dexterity, and a 13 on Constitution, making it 14 with the first bonus point. We put a 15 on Intelligence, making it 16 with the second bonus point. And we put a 10 on Wisdom and a 12 on Charisma. Although we could reverse the last 2 if you would rather be wise rather than charming.
Our hero was just 10 years old when he became apprenticed to the wizard. He is the youngest of 13 children, having 6 older brothers and 6 older sisters, as well as countless cousins. His sisters were all married off to young men in the village, and his brothers worked the farm or apprenticed to various trades. His oldest brother went off to join the king's army. When our hero came of age to be apprenticed, he was still unsure what trade to take. He thought of joining the army like his eldest brother, or perhaps a smith or carpenter. One day a man came to the village. He wore the white robes of a wizard, something that everyone recognizes even out here on the borderlands, but he also carried a warrior's sword and wore mail beneath his robes. He came straight to our hero's home and asked to speak to his father. That was at work in the fields despite his advanced age. His old mother, being rather shaken by having a wizard in her home, told our hero to run fetch his father, which he did. When his father returned, he shook the wizard's hand while his wife brought beer, bread, and cheese for the guest. The wizard thanked her graciously, and after exchanging news and pleasantries, he got down to business. He explained that he was seeking an apprentice, and signs and portents led him to this house where he was to find a boy who was the seventh son of his seventh son, and offered to take him as an apprentice. Our hero had been eavesdropping from the kitchen, knew that the wizard was talking about him, and was excited by the opportunity, but also a little scared. After asking questions about such an apprenticeship would mean, his father called our hero into the main room and said bluntly, "This man is a wizard and wants you to be a wizard apprentice. It's a good chance for you, but it's a risky life and will take you far from home, so I won't send you off against your wishes." Our hero thought for a time and considered his options. Thinking working magic seems a great deal better than sweating at a forge or pushing a plow, he agreed to go with the man. He was taken to the wizard's home and trained for many years, but not just in the arts of magic. His master said, "We're not just workers of magic, we are warriors against the forces of evil in the world and must be prepared for battle." To that end, our hero trained each morning with the local guardsmen, not just swordsplay, but marching in formation, wearing heavy armor, drilling with many weapons, and learning military tactics. Then in the afternoon, he pored over arcane tomes, studying the basics of wizardry and the runes used to describe spells. At first level, he begins playing not as a wizard, but a fighter. Magic takes time to learn, and he was an accomplished warrior by the time he had mastered his first spells. For those who were confused earlier, this is why he was able to take the heavy armor master as his feat. He has proficiency with simple and martial weapons, all armor, shields, as well as strength and constitution saves. He also gets a fighting style and chooses defense, giving him a +1 to armor class when wearing armor. His master told him that one day he would have magic as both sword and shield, but went on to say that even then a good sword at your belt and a coat of mail beneath your robes could be worth more than magic in a lot of situations. He also gets Second Wind, which lets him use a bonus action once per rest to heal 1d10 plus his fighter level and hit points. He gains 2 skills from the fighter list and takes perception and athletics, reflecting his intense training. He is equipped with chainmail and a greatsword. He doesn't carry a bow or other ranged weapon, preferring to use firebolt to attack opponents at range, but does carry a hand axe and a pair of daggers because they are useful to have and can be thrown if needed. At second level, he completes his magical training, becoming a first-level wizard. He is not yet ready to set out on his own or take the trial of high sorcery, but he is no longer an apprentice. He gains 3 cantrips from the wizard list, and he chooses Booming Blade to enhance his sword attacks, Ray of Frost as a ranged attack to slow enemies and damage foes that might resist his firebolt, and Sword Burst to deal with enemies trying to surround him. He can use an arcane focus instead of material components for his spells, and crafts a silver orb that he can wear on a chain around his wrist to focus his spells. He also carries a component pouch with the regents necessary for his spells, because his master cautioned him that relying entirely on a spell focus could leave him helpless if an enemy were to steal it or disarm him of it. He has Arcane Recovery, allowing him to regain half his level worth of spell slots rounded up when taking a short rest. He has prepared a spell book containing 6 first-level spells, and he can prepare a number of spells from that book equal to his wizard level plus his intelligence modifier, so 4 for now. His book contains Detect Magic and Identify. Both are rituals that he can cast without having them prepared or using a spell slot, if he extends the casting time to 10 minutes and has his spellbook in his possession. He also takes Absorb Elements, Magic Missile, Burning Hands, and Ice Knife.
At third level, he becomes a second-level wizard, gaining an arcane tradition, and he chooses War Magic. He gains Tactical Wit, allowing him to quickly evaluate tactical situations, and he adds his intelligence modifier to his initiative rolls. He also gains Arcane Deflection, allowing him to defend himself instinctively with magic. In response to an attack, he can use his reaction to add either +2 to his armor class against an attack, or add +4 to a saving throw. The +2 to the armor class is nice. Since he already has a good armor class, this could be better than using Shield spell in some situations. The saving throw bonus is incredible in 5th edition. A +4 bonus can make a difficult save easy, and an easy save and almost automatic. Using this ability comes with a significant cost, however. After he uses it, he can't cast level spells until after the end of his next turn. This will force him to rely on cantrips or his sword. This is often worth it, but losing the ability to cast spells seriously weakens him. He also gains a 3rd first-level spell slot and can add 2 more first-level spells to his book. He takes Silvery Barbs for another defensive reaction, and False Life to fortify himself in battle. If your DM allows spells from Unearthed Arcana, the spell Healing Elixir would suit him. It is from UA 36. Using alchemist supplies, he creates an elixir that can last for 24 hours. During that time, a creature can drink it, regaining 2d4 plus 2 hit points. The material components is the alchemist supplies, and since they have gold piece value, he can't substitute an arcane focus, so he will have to carry them with him. He doesn't have to be proficient with them to use them as a material component, but if your DM allows this spell and you like the idea, you could ask your DM if you could trade one of the languages given by your background for tool proficiency with alchemist supplies. If allowed, he should take that instead of false life. One day his master informed him that he would be leaving for a time. He has been tasked with bringing a renegade wizard under the authority of the Tower of High Sorcery or killing the wizard if he refuses. His master also intends to visit some colleagues about some signs he'd seen of rising evil. His master said he would be away for at least a month, perhaps a whole season, and instructed our hero on various defenses and other items of magic needed to defend their home, and told him to be available should the guardsmen need his assistance, and then without much ceremony his master simply disappeared, being conveyed by magic to whatever destination he set out for. At 4th level, he becomes a 3rd level wizard. He gains a 4th first level spell slot and 2 second level spell slots, and can add 2 more spells to his book up to 2nd level. And he chooses Blur to increase his defenses and Scorching Ray for a powerful attack. His master returns after a little over 2 weeks. It seems after having to kill the renegade wizard, that wizard's apprentice asked to take the trial of high sorcery, and our hero's master took the young man to the Tower of High Sorcery to take the trial, and then escorted the young wizard home after he succeeded. His master told our hero that he is also ready to take the trial if he wishes, and that if he does, they should go soon because there is an evil afoot in the world, and the good wizards are going to be needed. Our hero felt he was well prepared for the trial and agreed to go without hesitation, even though he knew failure in the trial meant death. The trial was not what he had expected. His combat abilities were useless. He had come to rely on sword and armor, but they were of no benefit against the challenges he faced, and not only was his skill at magic tested, so was his character and commitment. He emerged from the trial changed in many ways. He had learned humility, and he had learned fear. Not cowardice, his courage was, if anything, greater than before, but rather he learned of the horrible things that threatened the world, and saw how weak he was in comparison to what filled him with fear. But rather than submit to the fear, he overcame it, allowing it to focus his resolve and give him motivation. He leaves the testing chamber wearing the white robes, much to his master's approval. At 5th level, he becomes a 4th level wizard, gaining an ability score improvement or a feat, and he's going to take the Adept of the White Robes feat. It gives him the ability Protective Ward that lets him use his reaction when he or another creature within 30 feet takes damage to expend a spell slot and roll a number of d6s equal to the level of the spell slot, and add his intelligence modifier and then subtract the total from the damage taken. He can do this a number of times per day equal to his proficiency bonus. He also gets Protective Magic, which is a 2nd level spell from the School of Divination, or Abjuration, that he always has prepared and can cast once per day without expending a spell slot, and cast it with any spell slots he has of that at least 2nd level. The spellcasting ability for this spell is the same as he chooses for the Initiative High Sorcery, which is Intelligence. He chooses Lesser Restoration. It is normally not available to wizards, and is useful to have prepared for free. One advantage to having this spell is that it only requires that he touch a creature, which could be himself, so he doesn't have to see the target. Blinding a wizard is one of the best ways to cripple them, and most wizards don't have an effective response to it, but blindness is one of the conditions cured by Lesser Restoration. He also gains a 3rd 2nd level spell slot and can add 2 more spells to his book of up to 2nd level, and he chooses Augury and Shatter. He also gains another cantrip, and he takes Acid Splash for a range attack that can hit 2 opponents. His cantrips also improve at this level, gaining an additional dice of damage. Booming Blade now deals a d8 additional damage to the target and 2d8 if they trigger the boom. At 6th level, he becomes a 5th level wizard, gaining 2 3rd level spell slots, and he can add 2 more spells to his book that can be of 3rd level. He takes Fireball and Counterspell.
After completing his trial and returning home, his master asks him what he intends to do now that he is a member of the Order. Our hero says that with evil growing in the world, he fears for his family. He wants to return to his home and establish a residence there, to both protect the area and to be reunited with his siblings. His master thought that to be a good plan and sent him off with some items of magic and a goodly amount of gold to help him establish his home. He returned home to find things had changed very little. His parents, though very old, were both still living and doting on their many grandchildren. His eldest brother had retired from the king's army and was now captain of the town guard, and was pleased to see his youngest brother riding into town clad in mail and wearing a sword. The two brothers spoke much, and our hero had offered his services should the city come under attack. His many nieces and nephews were excited to meet their uncle the wizard, and often wanted to hear stories of magic and adventure. Our hero buys an old farmhouse near the edge of town. It has long been neglected since the widow who lived there passed away. Our hero restored the home and gardens and hired some of his younger cousins and nephews to restore the fields and tend to crops and beasts, paying them with coin and a share of the produce. Many of his older nephews were nearly his age, and he became friends with them. Some were warriors themselves and served in the town guard. At 7th level, he becomes a 6th level wizard. He gains Power Surge. He can store magical energy and use it to increase the damage of his spells. He can store a number of charges equal to his intelligence modifier, and when he finishes a long rest, the number of charges resets to 1. When he deals damage to a target with a spell, he can spend a Power Surge to deal force damage equal to half his wizard level. It doesn't say whether to round up or down, so the default, according to the player's handbook, is to round down. When he finishes a short rest without a Power Surge, he gains one, and he also gains one any time he ends a spell with Counterspell or Dispel Magic. Power Surge isn't a particularly powerful ability, but it depends on the campaign. If frequently fighting enemy casters, he can accumulate a lot of Power Surges, but often he will only have one per short rest, and that's just okay. I like to use Power Surge with a cantrip to boost its power when I'm either trying to conserve spell slots or am unable to cast a leveled spell because of Arcane Deflection. He also gains another 3rd level spell slot and can add 2 more spells to his spellbook. That can be 3rd level, and he chooses Dispel Magic both for its usefulness and to acquire Power Surges. He also takes Hypnotic Pattern, which can immobilize and incapacitate enemies in a 30-foot area that fail a Wisdom save. The spell ends on the creature if they take damage or another creature uses its action to shake them out of it. At 8th level, he becomes a 7th level wizard. He gains a 4th level spell slot and can add 2 spells to his spellbook that can be 4th level, and he chooses Divination and Wall of Fire. The first time the Dragon's Queen's forces attacked his village, it was just a small force, a few dozen warriors led by a priest of Takesis. The town guards rallied quickly at the approach of the enemy. A dozen warriors armed with longbows sent volleys into the ranks of the enemy, but the enemy's shields and armor protected them. His oldest brother took the bulk of the guard to charge the enemy formation, and our hero rode beside them, blasting them with a fireball before engaging the priest in a duel. The priest was powerful and fought well, but ultimately fell before our hero's spells and sword. Having taken huge losses and seeing their leader fall, the remaining forces of the Dragon Queen routed. At 9th level, he becomes an 8th level wizard, getting an ability score improvement or feat, and he increases intelligence to 18 to empower his casting. He gains a 2nd 4th level spell slot, and he can also add 2 spells to his book that can be up to 4th level, and he chooses Dimension Door and Summon Elemental. The elementals summoned by this spell are powerful and have useful abilities. The duration is also excellent, lasting up to an hour depending on concentration. At 10th level, he becomes a 9th level wizard. He gains a 3rd 4th level spell slot and a 5th level spell slot, and can add 2 spells to his book that can be up to 5th level. He chooses Steel Wind Strike and Teleportation Circle.
At 11th level, he becomes a 10th level wizard. For more magic, he gains Durable Magic. When he is concentrating on a spell, he gets a +2 bonus to his armor class and saving throws. He has many good concentration spells, from defensive spells like Protection from Good and Evil and Blur, or battlefield control spells like Hypnotic Pattern and Wall of Fire or Summon Elemental that brings a powerful ally, so he should always be concentrating on something. He learns another cantrip, and he chooses Dancing Lights. It is a useful cantrip, but more importantly, it is a concentration, so if he doesn't have anything else to concentrate on, he can use this to activate Durable Magic. He gains another 5th level spell slot and can add 2 more spells to his book that can be up to 5th level, and he chooses Big B's Hand and Wall of Force. His cantrips improve again, gaining an additional dice of damage. The second attack from the Dragon Queen's forces was stronger. They came with dozen soldiers, including cavalry and archers. The battle was much more intense than the previous one. The defenders lost many men, including one of our hero's nephews, who died riding against the enemy knights of Takesis. Our hero was stretched to his limit, dividing the enemy with a wall of fire, destroying their archers with blasts of fire, and unleashing an earth elemental to attack the enemy ranks. In the end, the forces defending the village prevailed, but at great cost. At 12th level, he becomes an 11th level wizard. He gains a 6th level spell slot and can add 2 spells to his book that can be up to 6th level. He chooses Chain Lightning and Tasha's Otherworldly Guise. It grants him wings that can give him a fly speed of 40 feet, a +2 bonus to armor class, resistance to radiant and necrotic damage, and immunity to the charmed condition. It also makes all of his weapon attacks magical, and he can attack twice instead of once when taking the attack action. At 13th level, he becomes a 12th level wizard, gaining another ability score improvement or a feat, and he increases his constitution to 16 to support his concentration and increases durability in battle. He can also add 2 more spells to his book that can be up to 6th level, and he chooses Globe of Invulnerability and Contingency. Contingency allows him to have a spell of up to 5th level set to activate under specific circumstances set by the caster. The spell lasts for 10 days and ends early if he casts another contingency or it activates. Setting Lesser Restoration to activate if he is blinded or poisoned is a good choice, as is setting Counterspell or Dispel Magic to activate if he is attacked or incapacitated by a spell is also useful. The next attack on the village was the strongest so far. It seems that the Dragon Queen's forces needed the village as a staging area to continue their war, and since they haven't been able to take it easily, they have brought the entire army. In addition to human soldiers, the enemy included ogres and worse creatures. Our hero sent word to his master that the Dragon Queen's army was approaching and asked for aid. His master was also occupied against the forces of Takesis and was unable to come to his aid, but promised to send help. The help came in the form of not 1 but 2 mages of high sorcery, a wizard of the black robes, and a half-elven sorceress of the red robes. The 2 arrived via teleportation circle he had constructed in his home and immediately began preparing for the attack. The black robes was a young man scarcely older than himself. The sorceress appeared younger still, but with her elven heritage she could be much older than she appears. He was enthralled by her, not just because of her beauty and grace, but also her air of supreme confidence. Both our hero and the black robes looked to her for leadership, and she did not disappoint. She asked him for detailed information on the forces the village had at its disposal and suggested ways to deploy them. He responded with his own tactical knowledge, and together they formed a plan. The black robes asked for a quiet place to prepare, and much to our hero's dismay, he emerged after a day of isolation, having bonded a powerful fiend to his service and raised a force of undead from the remains of the last group of the Dragon Queen's soldiers. As distasteful as these creatures were, there was no denying that they would be useful in battle. The Dragon Queen's army came and were met by the combined might of the 3 mages of high sorcery. Blasts of fire, lightning, and acid decimated the first wave of invaders. The second wave was more cautious and had among them a treacherous wizard of the black robes who had betrayed the order and joined the forces of the Dragon Queen. The black robes sent his fiend and undead against the wave and drew sword and wand to join the battle alongside them. The red robes used her power to protect and support the village, militia, and guardsmen, leaving our hero to deal with the enemy wizard. He called his angelic form and flew into battle, striking aside the soldiers protecting the wizard before engaging the enemy with spells of fire and force, countering the spells his enemy tried to use against him and turning the energy into destructive power that he sent back. The black robes didn't go down easily, but die he did. At the last, he attempted to teleport himself to safety, but our hero countered the spell of teleportation and finished the doomed wizard with a thunderous strike with his greatsword.
At 14th level, he becomes a 13th level wizard. He gains a 7th level spell slot and can add 2 spells to his spell book that can be of up to 7th level, and he chooses Crown of Stars and Plane Shift. Plane Shift can be used to send enemies to other planes of existence from which they must find their own means of escape. It can also carry his allies to other planes should he need to face the Dragon Queen's forces in worlds beyond. Agreeing that the forces of the Dragon Queen would just keep returning, the 3 mages decided to take the offensive, but they needed reinforcements, and the gods provided. A band of Solamnic knights led by a Knight of the Rose came to join the fight. The Knight of the Rose brought with her a rare Dragonlance, which is a weapon of great power against the dragons who served Takesis. She also brought with her a young Kender who seemed to be seeking adventure as much as he wished to oppose evil. Another band of warriors also came to the fight, a mixed army of men and dwarves who had long been battling the Dragon Queen's forces, and came here because they had learned that this is where her armies were gathering. At 15th level, he becomes a 14th level wizard. For more magic, he gains Deflecting Shroud. When he uses his Arcane Deflection ability to increase his armor class or saving throw, he can cause energy to arc outwards, dealing force damage to 3 creatures of his choice within 60 feet. The damage is equal to half his wizard level. He can also add 2 more spells to his spellbook that can be 7th level, and he chooses Teleport and Prismatic Spray. At 16th level, he becomes a 15th level wizard. He gains an 8th level spell slot and can add 2 spells to his book that can be 8th level. He chooses Sunburst and Demiplane. Demiplane opens the door to a pocket dimension that takes the form of a 30-foot square room of either wood or stone. The door lasts for an hour before disappearing, leaving anything or anyone that remains in the pocket dimension trapped there. When a wizard casts a spell, he can return to a demiplane he has already created or create a new one. If he knows the appearance and contents of a demiplane created by another wizard, he can access that with this spell as well. The demiplanes can be used to secure treasure or supplies, keep prisoners, or even as a safe place to rest. A wizard could also create demiplanes containing libraries and alchemy labs that he can access as needed. The one drawback is that when the door disappears after the 1 hour duration, the wizard is trapped as well unless he has another way to return. Casting the spell again inside a demiplane will only open a door into another one, not back to the plane the wizard came from. Fortunately, our wizard has the plane shift spell, allowing him to leave anytime he wants. When they finally achieve a break in the fighting, the Black Robes returns to his home to attend to some matters, and the Red Robe leaves as well to visit her family. In their absence, he reaches out to his former master, asking how he has been handling the war. His master has been busy fighting the Dragon Queen's forces and has gathered a few of his other former apprentices and a band of warriors. Our hero suggested that he come and join the forces our hero has assembled, and the wizard agrees. The Red Robe returns, bringing with her her mother, a powerful wizard of the White Robes, and her father, a legendary Kaganesti ranger, who have also been battling the armies of Takesis. With whom are a band of human and elven woodsmen that have been aiding them against the Dragon Queen's forces. The army they have gathered is small, just a fraction of the Dragon Queen's horde, but it was very powerful. Every warrior in their band was a seasoned veteran. Even the survivors of the village militia were hardened warriors ready for battle. At 17th level, he becomes a 16th level wizard, gaining another ability score improvement or feat, and he increases intelligence to 20 for maximum power from his spells. He can also add 2 more spells to his book of up to 8th level, and he chooses Feeble Mind and Illusionary Dragon. At 18th level, he becomes a 17th level wizard, and he gains a 9th level spell slot and can add 2 spells of any level to his spellbook, and he chooses Invulnerability and Meteor Swarm. Invulnerability is exactly what it sounds like. For the duration, he can't take damage from anything. There are other ways to defeat or kill someone without damage, but he has answers for those as well, and not taking damage is incredibly powerful. Meteor Swarm is simply the best damaging spell in the game, capable of wiping out armies. At 19th level, he becomes an 18th level wizard, gaining Spell Mastery, which are 1st and 2nd level spell that he can cast whenever he wants without using a spell slot. For the first, he takes Shield. He already has an excellent armor class with Chainmail and the bonus from Durable Magic and possibly the bonus from Tasha's Otherworldly Guise on top of it. So having Shield available every round pushes it over the top. For the second, he takes Blur, which not only gives him a reliable defensive spell, it also gives him something to concentrate on for durable magic. He gains a 3rd, 5th level spell slot, and can also add 2 spells of his book of any level, and he chooses Wish for its powerful and versatility, and Foresight, which is another powerful defense with an 8-hour duration. At 20th level, he becomes a 19th level wizard, getting another ability score improvement or feat, and increases his constitution to 18 for better hit points and concentration. He also gains a 2nd, 6th level spell slot and can add 2 spells of any level to his spellbook. And you should use these to fill any weaknesses in his arsenal that he hasn't filled by finding or buying spells. This is a fun and powerful wizard. We are going for the noble hero archetype, and we think we nailed it. He managed to be both the good wizard and the knight in shining armor. He is powerful in combat, having a heavy preference for damaging and defensive spells. His single fighter level gives him proficiency with constitution saves, armor, and a weapon, all of which make him even stronger in battle. Even if he is out of spell slots, his sword and cantrips make him a dangerous foe, while his armor combined with a defense fighting style and arcane deflection make him very hard to hit. At high levels, he also has Deflecting Shroud and eventually unlimited uses of Shield and Blur. He has answered for most attacks enemies might use against him. He also hasn't neglected divinations and utility spells, making him useful outside of battle as well. If you want to play a heroic wizard crusading against evil, this is your guy. And he's also a good choice for a campaign that focuses on combat over role-playing and puzzle solving, although he isn't useless in those situations either. We hope you like this character and join us next week when we finally get the Knight of the Rose build done. Until then, cheers!
Cheers!